Hey everyone, it's Mr. Wildboy94. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for something that means a lot to me because of what I just recently experienced and what I grew up on. I'm going to give you a little bit of background in a moment, but first and foremost, as you can tell from the review title, this is going to be a review for, my first review at least, for Dragon Ball Super. This happens to be Volume 9 that I'm going to start reviewing on. I love these Dragon Ball Super covers. I have a lot to say about Super. I had not watched the show until recently because, over time, of course, I think 2013 was when we got the first of the currently 4 movies. Of course, the first 2 technically are Dragon Ball Z movies, Battle of Gods, and then we have Resurrection F. I hated both. I thought they sucked, and it made me more and more not want to watch the show, and I just never did. It's been off the air for like 5 years now, and I finally watched it on Hulu recently and started buying the seasons. But then there's the Broly movie, which pissed me off even more because I'm a massive Broly fan of the first 2 films. Bio Broly is a piece of shit. I don't want to talk about it. But I hated this too. I was even more mad because they had ruined Broly and what they did with Vic Mignogna, or whatever the fuck his name is. And then Super Hero, the newest film from last year, I didn't like this either. It was better than these 3, but I didn't like it. So, my whole point of saying all of that is to say this. I finally watched Super on Hulu, like I said, and I fell in love with it. It is so much better than any of these movies tied to it. However, of course, Super has its flaws, animation issues, all kinds of stuff like that. Gohan being a fucking joke here. There's a lot of references that are to GT, even though it completely forsakes GT, which I still think I like more. But that's just me. I loved Super. It's 131 episodes, fantastic TV, really enjoyed it. And as you can tell, I started buying the show. But it also made me want to go ahead and pick up the manga. One of the things that made me want to go ahead and get back into this is because, of course, this picks up, at least Volume 9 does, ending the Power Tournament thing. The Tournament of Power, I think is what it's called, and then it also starts the new arc, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which I really liked. Been a massive Dragon Ball Z fan all of my life. Never been a big fan of the original Dragon Ball. I've never read it, never watched much of the original show aside from a couple of VHS tapes from when I was a kid that I don't even think I own anymore. But Dragon Ball Z was my thing. I have most Dragon Ball Z games. I've completed most Dragon Ball Z games. I'm obsessed with the shit. But let me tell you this, Dragon Ball Super had rubbed me the wrong way for so long. One of the things that made me want to check it out was years ago I owned Volume 1 and 2, and then eventually I picked up 3 and 4, and I had heard that Volume 1 and 2, which this was wrong, that they only covered the first 2 movies, Battle of Gods, Resurrection F. And so I skipped them. I went straight to Volume 3 and 4, which if you don't know, happens to pick up the Future Trunks arc. And I loved it. I thought the Future Trunks arc was fantastic. I read Volume 3 and 4, and I think 5 and 6 tie to that too. I could be wrong. I don't know how much that goes into that, but I missed an entire tournament in the first 2 volumes because I skipped them. Apparently Resurrection F isn't even in the manga. They had started it, they never completed it. I didn't know anything about that. But here I am telling you, after watching the show, I don't want to read 8 books to be able to get over to this and then pick up here where the show leaves off. And the show is not very different from the manga's originality. With a few fillers, that's probably all there is. But I loved this show, and I loved it so much that now I want to go ahead and start buying the mangas again, picking them up. So I picked up about 3 volumes last week. The problem is I picked up 9, 11, and then 12. I couldn't find 10. I haven't been able to find 10 for like 2 weeks, so I'm going to try to go to a different Barnes & Noble to get it this week. A little bit more of a drive, but I'll see what I can do. Anyway, here I am finally talking about Dragon Ball Super Volume 9. So the first 2 chapters out of this 4-chapter book, by the way, of course, from Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, who's always been around. He did the story, and the art was by Toyotaro. I can never say that poor guy's name. He's great at the art. I think it looks sometimes even better than the Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball art. Now, I own Dragon Ball Volume 1, 2, and 3 in a big book, you know, but I started reading it years ago. I got depressed when my grandmother passed away. I didn't finish reading it. But I really liked what I did read of Volume 1. Z, I never read any of the manga at all. Like, at all. I used to see the colorized versions at Barnes & Noble that I go to typically, so I was kind of surprised. I never picked it up, though. Maybe in the future, I don't know. But anyway, let me look for the chapter listings, if I can find them. I know they're here. Okay, so there's 4 chapters in here. Chapter 41 and 42 finish off the Tournament of Power that I talked about, you know, the big thing that's been going on at this point, the Goku versus Jiren situation. Loved it in the manga. Read a little bit of that too, just kind of browsed through that first 100 pages focused around chapter 41 and 42 because I wanted to make sure everything was identical on how it ended, and it pretty much was. For the most part. Not completely. There's a little small detail here and there, like with Frieza and whatever that changed, but for the most part, 41 and 42 in this manga were adapted pretty much directly into the anime. However, the other half of the book, the last 100 pages of this 200-page book, are chapters 43 and 44. And they start off a new story about a guy named Moro, or Maro. Moro, I think is how you say his name. It's M-O-R-O. That's really what I'm talking about in this review. The Tournament of Power stuff, again, is pretty much identical in that 100 pages I skimmed through. It's fantastic. Great conclusion to that storyline. Picking up on the Moro storyline, I really dug too. Basically, a bunch of aliens show up at Hercule's house, and they try to kidnap Majin Buu, and they eventually do. Goku and Vegeta show up when Hercule calls them to try to save Majin Buu while he's sleeping and being kidnapped. Or Boo-napped? I don't know what you'd call that. And they travel with Majin Buu and this group of alien patrolmen, basically. The patrols that are tied to Jacko. Jocko? I think it's Jocko is how you say his name. They're tied to him, the Galactic Patrol, and they have to basically become patrolmen themselves, right? And they're going to stop this great evil. Apparently this guy named Moro, who's kind of like a magician of some sort. Yeah, he uses magic. I don't think I've ever seen that in Dragon Ball Z with Goku and Vegeta fighting somebody like that. Not that I can remember, at least. Again, I've not been exposed to the original Dragon Ball, I'm not really sure. But seeing Goku and Vegeta deal with that together is going to be super interesting. And I love the reasons on why these guys needed Majin Buu. That's fantastic. A nice little throwback to Dragon Ball Z and the Buu arc, which I loved back then. I still love now when I rewatched it. Not too long ago, as a matter of fact. So, they basically have to become policemen. Goku and Vegeta do, and I love that about it. It was really fun watching that part of it. Of course, this is only 2 chapters, about 100 pages of that story. The introduction of this new villain, Moro, I was kind of like, where are they going to go with this? He kind of looks like a ram, like a Dodge Ram, like the emblem, the ram. And he looks like that. He's wearing this big old massive cloak, right? And Goku goes to sense for this guy to see if they can find out what directions he's in so they can instant transmission there, right? And when they're trying to do that, Goku is sensing around, he finds his energy, and then he realizes the screaming from that energy. It sounds like people being murdered. Like people, tons of people, millions of people screaming. Apparently Moro is also 10 million years old, which was fascinating to me. Thought that sounded like a really cool villain idea that we hadn't really seen much of in Dragon Ball Z outside of people like Beerus, for example, or Bills, whatever name you want to call the guy, being, you know, a chaos god or a destruction god, whatever you want to call the guy. Him being so old, we hadn't seen like a mortal thing be 10 million years old in Dragon Ball Z that often. Anyway, so this energy coming off of Moro is like people screaming, and that really messes with Goku, and he also realizes Moro can sense him sensing him. So that really messes with him too. Like it's really interesting to see what this guy's going to be capable of. Of course, this is more of the introduction of Moro and setting up the fights for Volume 10. I'm really excited for that when I get around to it. Hopefully I can get it this weekend because I'm dying to find out what happens. The show was so good I want to know more and more because it looks like Super's never coming back. I tried to be patient and I made it about a week after I finished the show that I needed to pick up these volumes and start getting into it. And even if Super does continue, I'll probably watch that anyway because I loved this so much. Point being, Maro sounds cool. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that because Jiren was interesting. I really liked what we did with him, even though it wasn't really a mystical thing. But the Tournament of Power had a great conclusion. The Maro setup sounds great. I really can't wait to see what direction we go, and I'm curious, since this already feels like a filler story from the Super show or from Z's show, it feels to me like we're going to do some kind of filler story here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to be more expansive for the next couple of volumes. I don't know. I haven't looked at the covers. The covers don't always tell you anyway what you're going to do with the storylines, but I'm still super curious. The artwork as ever, if you care, is just as beautiful it's ever been. I mean, it's always impressive. I really like Toyotaro, or however you say his name's art. I think it looks good. Of course, manga is typically in black and white. I really liked it. This has been a manga week for me, man, with all the stuff I've been reviewing, like Cruel Earth Undead Volume 1 and Volume 2 of that series, and now this. I really, really like this. I think it's really enjoyable. If you love Dragon Ball Super, if you've loved it up to this point, and again, I've only read Volume 3 and 4 and maybe 5, I think, years ago. I gotta tell you, this is a big recommendation for me. I think Volume 9 of Dragon Ball Super, definitely a good read, definitely a really enjoyable one, and I can't wait to delve into more. I have the next 3 volumes lined up once I pick up Volume 10. I'm really excited for that. You have no idea. I'm going to probably try to burn through these. I've been in a big Star Wars mood, too, since I finished Dragon Ball Super. So I might do some Star Wars books. I don't know. It'll be a little bit till I get around to that, depending on my time. But we'll see. Anyway, Dragon Ball Super Volume 9. Have you guys read this? What did you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Did you love this one? Did you think it was one of the best? For me, every single volume has been really good that I've read. 3, 4, I think 5, and this, I've loved all of them. I thought they were all really good and really kind of pulled me to Super and checking out the show and stuff. I'm sorry to make this first review for Dragon Ball Super something that I skipped so many volumes to get to this, but to me, I don't really think I need to read all that other shit to get to this where I really cared about going. Anyway, Volume 9 of the show, or Super, what do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. If I had to rate Dragon Ball Super on a 5-star basis, I'd give Volume 9, I'd give the show like a 5 out of 5. I really liked it. The more that it took off, the better it got. It explained like the Super Saiyan God stuff a lot better. But this particular volume, for me, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. I really loved what I read here. I really enjoyed it. I can tell you, it's a good one. The ending for the Tournament of Power was so strong in the show and in here. It was great. I loved it. I thought it had so much heart and soul to it. Something that I haven't seen in Dragon Ball in a long time, and I've missed it because of the movies being so bad. I haven't gotten to experience that until recently. With the show, with this, and I love it. Anyway, with that being said, Volume 9, what did you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down below again. And I want to tell you this too, I'm sorry I had to do such a big introduction about Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, my thoughts and all that. I just wanted to really give you guys context when you watch this video on why I'm so pessimistic about Super, or at least I was until now. Because it mattered a lot to me. It mattered to me to explain to you why I jumped straight into Volume 9 for these reviews instead of talking about 8 previous books. It just mattered, in my opinion. With that being said, though, what are your thoughts again? Thank you for watching, guys. God bless you. I'm going to end the video before the ambulance gets here that's flying down the road. God bless you guys. Goodbye.